Welcome to the 6th edition of Video Interface. A little bit later I'm going to be talking to the Chairman and Chief Executive of the company that used to be JWP.
I'll be bringing you all the news, of course.
And I'll be taking up Peter Jones's promise to preview WordPerfect 6.0 for Windows.
And I'll be finding out what the next version of Windows for Workgroups has to offer. Stand by the pause button then. Here's the stop frame index, and the timings are taken from now. Now I'm sure you've noticed a few changes, not the least of which is the absence of the letters JWP. Edition 6 of Video Interface comes to you from Landtech Information Services Limited rather than JWP Information Services Limited. Now if you've been watching the computer press, you will already know that there's more than just a change of name going on. This time around, therefore, we asked Michael Rodd if he'd investigate us.
Well, as Steve has said, there are changes afoot. What was JWP Information Services Limited is now Landtech Information Services Limited. But there's more to this than just a change of identity. And with me now to explain the significance of all this to the company and to its customers is the Chairman and Chief Executive of Landtech, Jim Rusu. Jim, what's behind the change of name?
We've recently completed a management buyout of the UK operations of JWP Information Services from its American parent. And since we're no longer linked to JWP, the parent company, it was necessary to change the name of the company as a consequence of the successful completion of the purchase of the operations.
So what stage are we at now? Have you retrieved a difficult position and put it on a firm footing, or is there now tremendous potential for the future with the new company?
We in the UK were never really in difficulties. We actually sorted out the problems of the business in late 1990, early 91, and anticipated that 1992 would be a difficult year for the industry. So we got our act together, got our cost base into shape, and were actually profitable in 1992. So despite the problems of the parent company, we were actually successful and profitable all the way through what was otherwise a very difficult year in 92. So from our point of view, the process of the sale of the business, which was announced on March the 16th by the parent company, was an unwelcome intrusion in one sense into what was otherwise a successful business. But on the other hand, it's presented us with an opportunity to actually take what has been a sound business with good, dedicated employees, good customers and excellent supplier relationships, away from the influence of an American parent company who was having difficulties, and really grow the business in a way which has been held back by problems overseas.
The period between the announcement of the sale and the conclusion of the deal has been longer than you wanted. How difficult a transition has this been for you?
We concentrated very much on making sure our existing customers actually were both reassured about their service levels and that those service levels were maintained throughout this period. At the same time, it was inevitable that the time and attention which the management team, and particularly myself, had to devote to the management buyout process, legal advisors, accounting advisors, venture capital meetings, those sorts of things. And so inevitably, the area that suffered most was probably our ability to gain new business during that period, because new customers are looking for long-term relationships. And if they have a concern over the ownership of the company or whether the company is being sold, then very few of those types of customers are actually going to sign a long-term contract with you. So existing customers were fine, new customers, it was a problem.
Now that the deal has been done then, let's look at the shape of the company. How big a business are you?
We're probably the 5th largest PC reseller and networking company in the UK. Turnover this year should be approximately 42 million, 130 staff in 4 locations in the UK, and continuing the activities that we previously conducted.
So now that the deal is done then, let's look at the shape of the company. What sort of an organisation is Landtech going to be?
It will be a more successful company than JWP was, for sure. But as far as the range of products and services that we actually supply, they're pretty much the same now as they were before. And the reason for that is because we developed our own strategy for the UK marketplace some time ago, and we've been limited from growing it by the problems of the parent company that we've mentioned. And now that we're free of those, we can grow those activities with our existing customers, but also offer those to new customers that perhaps haven't had the advantage of dealing with us before.
So as part of this management buyout, do you have funds available now to expand the business?
We certainly have more than enough available to us for our immediate future, and indeed in 94, late 94 probably, we'll begin to look at what we might do to expand by acquisition.
Now, of course, as JWP, you established strong relationships with manufacturers and you achieved BS 5750. Do you bring these benefits with you to the new company?
The relationships with the manufacturers were actually fundamental to our ability to complete the management buyout, because apart from the support that we receive from customers in their ability to stay with us, or their desire to stay with us, I should say, it was important that our suppliers felt comfortable with the way in which we were approaching the management buyout, and their commitment to us for the future was essential to us before we actually made our final decision. So those excellent relationships with our suppliers have continued through, and we look to those continuing right into 94 and beyond. As far as BS 5750 is concerned, our commitment to the quality process is an ethos of this management team and the organisation we currently have. And since that hasn't changed, then our commitment to quality won't change either. And the BS 5750 standard will be a name change on the certificate rather than having to refine the process again.
You must have looked at the business that you're in. Why, with all that has happened, should new customers find the offer that Landtech has to make attractive in a very competitive marketplace?
Well, I would say that we're the most experienced new name in the business. We've been established for 10 years in the UK. Many of my staff have over 5 years service with the company. We've been proud of the fact that we spend a lot of time in achieving the highest level of technical accreditations in the particular field that we choose to operate in. So in the personal computer networking arena and the personal computer systems integration, I'm sure that we have some of the best people in the country in resolving and solving networking problems for the large corporate sector.
This must have been a worrying time for everybody. How confident are you about the future?
Well, I'm not worried. We wouldn't have entered this process unless we had the greatest degree of confidence that what we were doing would be successful. All the ingredients are right for the business. It's a successful business in its own right. It's a sound business. It has good customers, excellent supplier relationships, and the best team of employees in the industry, both in terms of their length of service and their loyalty and dedication. Those ingredients can't fail, and I don't intend it to.
Any management buyout has got to be difficult, but knowing what you know now, would you have set out back in March to buy this company?
The answer has to be yes, despite all of the frustrations of the process. If you really believe that the proposition is worth fighting for, and of course we've successfully concluded the management buyout, then it's all worth it. But the process itself requires you really to be sure to start with that it's something you want to do, because as the obstacles and problems crop up during the process, and they certainly do, then in order to overcome them or to get round them, you have to really believe that it's worth fighting for. And that was certainly the case in our case.
Jim Rusu, good luck to you and to the new company, and I certainly look forward to being on video interface with Landtech in the future.
Thank you very much.
Hi, there's plenty to tell you about this month, so let's start with WordPerfect, especially as we're about to see a preview of WordPerfect 6.0 for Windows. This press release announced a set of templates that let 6.0 look like Microsoft Word 2, but still allows access to some WordPerfect unique additions, such as word, line, sentence and paragraph count. An AMI Pro 3 template is also planned. WordPerfect have also announced that Informs, their electronic forms product, is now shipping. An introductory offer bundles the designer, filler and 5 user licenses for an RRP of just $299. Claris have scored a coup by bundling Claris Works for Windows on Compact's new Presario range of systems. This bundle will be carried by Compact right across Europe, the Middle East and Africa. Claris Works is a single application incorporating word processing, graphics, spreadsheet, charting and database facilities. It is designed to meet the needs of students, home and small business PC users. Following Lotus's lead, Microsoft are to discontinue supplying full package software products on 5¼ discs. The only exceptions to this are DOS, Windows and Flight Simulator. If you purchase a Microsoft product and need 5¼ discs, returning a free postcard in the box will have them sent to you. Borland have announced version 5 of Quattro Pro for Windows and DOS. As is Borland's habit, there is a special offer too. Until the 15th of January, you can buy the Windows product for only $49.95. Aggressive pricing. Aldus have kept their word and released PageMaker 5 for the Macintosh. Naturally, there are upgrades available, the most notable of which is that users who purchase the latest version of PageMaker this year can have their software upgraded free. The full product is priced at $695 RRP. If you have a PC at home and are tired of the children playing computer games, try out a copy of Nextbase Explorer, falling into the new category of edutainment. Explorer is a computerized world atlas, encyclopedia and reference guide. Packed with detailed maps covering 200,000 place names and 200 countries, Explorer brings the world to your computer screen. $99.95 or £65 to recognise educational establishments. Finally, on the special offers scene, if you're buying yourself a PC this Christmas, you can get a special bundle from Computer Associates that is difficult to beat. Cricket Presents for Windows, text or word processing for Windows, Up to Date, that's a diary scheduling package, CA Compete 4.2, ACPAC Simply, home and small business accounting, and a log on to CompuServe with an hour's free time for $84.26. That's just £99 including VAT. Ask for the CA Simply Business Bundle. The Whitbread Round the World race is one of the last major tests of human skill and endurance. Covering 32,000 miles with just 5 stopovers in 9 months, it is the longest fully crewed offshore race in the world. For the competitors, the race demands bravery, seamanship and daring in abundance, as they battle not only with each other, but also against the world's most treacherous oceans. The race provides the ultimate challenge for man and technology alike. The race organisers will be using Toshiba computers to keep track of everything and pass on the news to a waiting world. 7 of the organisers are globetrotting, keeping up with competitors whilst another team stays to run the press office in the UK. Lantec were asked to configure the systems and install a network in the UK office. We were delighted to do so. As you read your morning paper and see news of the race, remember Lantec had a hand in bringing it to you. And now for some late news that arrived on the Studio Facts this morning. By the time you get this video, we believe that IBM will have announced their Pentium VP P60. This machine offers a performance rated at more than 50 win marks using the 60 MHz Pentium processor and a PCI local bus for graphics. With full ISO compliance, this is an ideal machine for the power user or as a network server. Early estimates of pricing indicate that the model with a 510 MB hard disk and 8 MB of RAM will be priced below £4,400. 2 weeks ago, Earls Court hosted a bigger than ever, better than ever business computing exhibition. Steve went along to check it out.
So, has the Business Computing Exhibition taken over from Which as the UK's #1 personal computer exhibition? Not yet, at least not as far as the corporate audience is concerned, who stayed away in droves. Certainly there were plenty of attendees, although the first day was by all accounts somewhat sparsely populated. All the major names were there in force, the software companies outnumbering the hardware. This was a business exhibition certainly, but it was mainly the small and medium-sized businesses that were attending. The number of small dealers selling off the stands was an indication of this. There were more of these than I remember in previous years, and they were well patronised. As a venue for the corporate decision maker, this, in common with most other exhibitions, is not the place to talk strategies. It is perhaps the place to see the new software packages without necessarily having to suffer the undivided attention of a manufacturer's major accounts salesperson. And there were plenty of demonstrations to see. In fact, I could easily have filled my day sitting on a whole selection of different chairs watching a whole selection of slick presentations. WordPerfect had the most enthusiastic crowds, whilst Microsoft had the biggest. Lotus's presentations were extremely serious, whilst IBM's presenters seemed to crack the best jokes. All in all, I suppose it was an interesting day, and I came away having learnt something. Next year, well, it's an exhausting, but to give it its due, an interesting day out. Plan your day beforehand though, and don't be sidetracked. That's where I went wrong. If you have to miss it next year, don't panic too much. Just watch video interface instead.
Finally, we spotted an interesting press cutting last week. Bobby Pickering wrote about video interface in PC Dealer magazine. The piece was generally complimentary, but Mr. Pickering did say, and I quote, "One does yearn for a or a joke to break the slick advertorial tone." Thanks for that word slick, Mr. Pickering, but we've been saving all the outtakes for the Christmas edition. Keep watching. Bye for now.
During edition 5, Steve extracted a promise from Peter Joseph, Product Director of WordPerfect UK, to preview for us WordPerfect 6.0 for Windows. Now, in case you think that you've already seen 6.0 because you've seen 6.0 for DOS, keep watching. They are in fact very distinct products. Peter, welcome back.
Thank you, Michael. It's nice to be back.
Peter, show us with you all. Let's talk about the differences between WordPerfect 6.0 for Windows and previous versions.
Okay. I think one of the main differences that we've tried to address with 6.0 Windows is to really give a lot more in the way of interface design and customization. And in fact, one of the key areas of the product is the fact that it's now a 100% WYSIWYG display. So it's a full print preview mode, i.e. there is no print preview anymore.
All right. So everything I see on the screen, I can adjust on the screen.
That's right. You know, headers, footers, footnotes, endnotes, just do it all straight on the screen.
Okay.
Now, let's maybe go in and actually take a look at some of the other key customization capabilities of the product. Some of you may be familiar with what we had before, which was an actual button bar facility. Now, the button bar as a concept is still very much here, but what we now have is the ability, rather than just to be able to move it around the screen, we can actually just pick it up and dynamically position it wherever we want on the screen, as you can see here. And that can include a complete floating palette. Now, one of the other benefits of the button bar is we can now control what actually goes onto it. So, for example, we can actually have executable programs, macros, keyboards, anything. And in fact, we can even control the text and the graphics themselves. In addition to being able to use a button bar, what we've also done is we've actually given a lot more in the way of customization when it comes to the pull-down menus themselves, so that we recognize that many organizations don't want people to be able to access all the features that are on the menus. So what we can actually do is we can now actually go in under our preferences menu and actually control the menu system itself. And I'm just going to go in here and I'm just going to create one just to give you an example of the types of things we can do. For example, you may have a user where you say, I don't want this user to be able to deal with graphics. So we can just remove the option directly off the menu. Similarly, what we might want to do is to move an option. And one of those examples may be something that we find under the insert menu, i.e. insert a file. So what we might want to do is to move that directly to the file pull-down menu and even change the content of the text that we see underneath that option. So we can see here we now have a full retrieve key. We can even remove the preferences so that particular user doesn't have the ability to change them back. It means that we really can tailor the interface to work the way users require.
Okay, so can you set a company standard by that means?
We certainly can, but I think one of the nicer ways to actually show how that can be taken to users' advantage is to actually come out of this mode and talk about something that we have called templates. One of the functions that we actually support is the ability to incorporate templates within the product. Now, you may have heard in the news item earlier that we're actually incorporating not just document templates, but also environmental templates like templates from Microsoft Word users to help them migrate to WordPerfect. Now, in fact, what I want to do is show you the benefit, because what we're saying as an example, let's just bring up a little memo template on the screen here, is that when we call up that memo as an example, we can actually not only have a template that prompts you to fill in variables as you see on the screen, but the entire environment can change accordingly. So here you can see the button bar has changed, and in addition to that, the pull-down menus have changed as well. So what I'm going to do, let's just cancel out of this and just return out. But that's just one way that we can actually customize the system to really work the way the users require it to work, i.e. they don't have access to all the features if they don't need them.
Right, okay. So show us some of those new features.
Okay, let's do that. Let's actually move on to a new document, because one of the things that I want to do is to talk to you about some of the tables and spreadsheet technology we've incorporated into WordPerfect 6.0. In fact, what you're seeing on the screen here at the moment is just a table, but this table contains data that we have imported directly from a spreadsheet. Now in this case it's Lotus 123, but of course it could have been Quattro Pro, Excel, or any of the leading spreadsheet applications. Now once we've imported that information, we're then in a table. So I have full table edit capabilities. But the importance of this is that we're working with that table on the screen without ever leaving the document. Now one of the things as an example we may wish to do is to actually come in here and actually change the formulas. And to do this, using our right mouse button, using what we term a quick menu, we can call up the formula bar. When we do this, you'll notice that we now have a series of functions that we can access from the menu. But again, I'm still in the document while I'm doing this. So as an example, let's get rid of this 0 that we see down here and say that what I actually want to do is to total this column. Now one of the things, before I go ahead, you will notice in each of these we actually have a full-blown formula. That formula has actually been imported straight from the spreadsheet itself. Now what I'm going to do is just say I want to total this, and all I need to do is to click on sum, and I'll now get the total. In addition to that though, we could have used a list of functions, and we actually have almost 100 spreadsheet functions built straight into the product. So our answer, or our question to most people would be, do they really need a full-blown spreadsheet? If they don't, then they can obviously do everything directly from within here. But of course, one of the natural extensions from having spreadsheet data in your document is that people want to be able to create a chart. And one of the things that we can now do is from within WordPerfect, there we go, there you'll see we actually have a chart. But that chart hasn't been imported via DDE or OLE from a separate application. We've actually created that within WordPerfect as well. So for example, if I double click on this, what you'll see is that we go straight into a charting mode within WordPerfect itself. Okay, so let's just load this up. There we go. Now you'll see we've got a full-blown charting component within WordPerfect. Now I can do many things in here. I can change the style of the chart to maybe be lines or area, or if I'm happy as it is, just return straight out. But as you can see here, I can actually change the perspective and even put frames around the data as well. For now, let's just return back. I won't make any changes, but you can see how we can then have a chart, which is just a graphic, which actually moves and sits within our document, and we can pick it up and move it around. Now, talking about graphics and what we can do there, let's actually move on and actually look at the graphics handling capabilities of the product itself, because there's some significant changes in that arena too. So what I want to do is just now move on to, again, yet another document. Let's go to document number 3 here. And what you'll see on this document is we've actually got a page with an image already on it. Now this image could have been retrieved, again, various file formats are fully supported within WordPerfect. This one is a standard WordPerfect WPG file format. Now within this, what somebody might want to do is to actually edit, maybe using crop or flip capabilities. And in most systems, they'd have to go off into a separate application to do this. Within WordPerfect, we can simply go in and use what we would term the image tools. And now you'll get a palette of tools within the document. So again, we're not leaving the document we're working in. So as an example, you may wish to move the image. So again, I can just pick it up and move it within the area. Alternatively, we may wish to rotate it. So again, we can just choose and pick up our rotate handles and rotate the object, whichever way we want. As you can see, we even have the ability to flip the object maybe from left to right. So there's a lot we can do straight from within it.
I know that earlier you showed me some colours and you showed me some other things that you could do with graphics. Maybe you could summarise for us the key new features, because I think I've got a feeling we could be here for another half an hour with you telling me all about them and showing me them. So a summary for us, Peter.
Well, okay, I was actually going to move on from here and actually talk about the actual drawing component that's built into the product. So we have a full-blown drawing component too. But in addition to that, another area of integration is with databases, because WordPerfect 6.0 provides direct database access, so that rather than the user having to extract information from databases first, in order to be able to maybe do a mail merge, we can actually do a direct mail merge to a database. And that database could be both a desktop or an SQL server-based database.
Really?
You know, without the user ever really having to understand how that database works.
That's good.
There are many other features, and you know, I'd love to spend more time going through them, but hopefully some other time we might be able to do that for you.
Peter, thanks very much. I know that what we've got here is a product that a lot of new Windows users will want to see and will want to use in the future. Thanks again for coming in, and I'm sure we'll see you again.
Okay, my pleasure. Thank you.
I mentioned earlier that we were going to have a look at the new version of Windows for Workgroups, version 3.11. And with us to show us that product is David Bridger, who is Windows Product Manager at Microsoft. Welcome, David.
Hello, Steve.
David, I think I misled people a little bit, because this is more than just Windows for Workgroups 3.11 we're seeing here. It is the new, more general Windows product, isn't it?
That's right, yes. I mean, the design of this product has been much more to give benefits to the wide range of users, whether they're a home user or whether they're a client connected into an enterprise network. So really as a general replacement or evolution from Windows 3.1.
Okay, so this is the version that OEMs are going to be pre-installing on machines in a couple of weeks from now, in fact, even if they're standalone.
Yes, I mean, there are a lot of OEMs who are interested in shipping this on every single PC. I think primarily they see it as a premium version of Windows, which provides general benefits in the area of things like ease of use and performance, which all users are interested in.
Okay. Let's take the performance aspect first. How does this improve the performance of a PC?
Okay, well, effectively what we've done is we have applied 32-bit capabilities to accessing information on your own PC and even on a network as well. So one of the things that we include is full 32-bit file and disk access. And let me just show you a chart which gives you an indication of the sort of performance improvements we're talking about. This is done with beta software, so for Windows for Workgroups, so we're hoping to improve on this. But what you can see is that before with Windows 3.1 and 32-bit disk access, which people might be familiar with, there was if you like, a minimal improvement in performance.
Yes.
But because we now have a full 32-bit path to the disk, we're talking about 134% improvement in this test. And that's in the sort of things that people do all the time, such as loading applications, accessing files on their own disk, and also on a network as well. There's a network of performance improvements.
Yes, which is, after all, what people spend most of their time doing, isn't it? Is loading applications and accessing files in one way or another.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about the connectivity side of this, because I understand that this is where there are some major corporate benefits, shall we say.
Yes, I mean, that's an important area. Before, I think people perceived Windows for Workgroups 3.1 as a peer networking product, but the design emphasis of this product is to make it a much better client into existing networks. So let's just go and take a look at some of that. What you can see here in Windows Setup is that I can actually set the PC up in one of three ways. Okay, so I could set it up as a standalone version of Windows, not expecting to connect into a network. In addition, it has full Windows 3.1 support, so all of the networks it supported before. What we suspect that most people will take is full Microsoft Windows network, and effectively that gives you peer services, plus automatic connectivity into Windows NT and LAN Manager, and also connectivity into a variety of different servers at the same time as well. So things like Banyan Vines, Unix, DEC Pathworks, and Novon NetWare. If we take Novon NetWare specifically, you can see here that we now support their standard, which is the ODI standard. We can improve on this as well because we have a virtual device driver for IPX as well, which reduces conventional memory and gives you 32-bit connectivity for that type of client. So that's mobile network connectivity, and there are many enhancements in that that obviously we don't have time to cover. Another important thing is that it is the best desktop version of Windows to connect into Windows NT as well. So I talked about performance. We're talking about a 30% performance improvement in connecting into a Windows NT server. And that's primarily because it contains support for NDIS3, which I think a lot of people will be familiar with for Windows NT.
Yes.
And we now have a full 32-bit path to the server in that way as well. It also contains some other things such as RAS as well, so it's a full RAS client, remote access client.
Right. What about user administration and that sort of thing? I understand there's some improvements there as well.
That's right. A lot of people, particularly corporates, were concerned about people being able to share information from their hard disk and things like that. So what we have is, as an administrator, I can enable and disable the file and printer sharing capabilities of any user on the network, or groups of users as well, so that can be controlled centrally. I think also in terms of security, another important area has been how Windows for Workgroups now has a cooperative security model with Windows NT and LAN Manager. What I mean by that is that before this PC can gain access to any network resources, it has to log on to Windows NT or LAN Manager, so it's therefore susceptible or controlled by all of the capabilities of a server management system.
Okay. There's one more point that I'd like to ask you about, and that is that I believe that this product incorporates the first of some of Bill Gates's was it Microsoft at Work?
Microsoft at Work,
isn't
yes.
it? Which is, if I understand it rightly, which is the use of the Windows interface on other technical equipment like photocopiers and fax machines and so on. What aspects of that does this product have?
Okay, this contains Microsoft at Work fax, and one of the important things about Microsoft at Work is that we want to retain the electronic qualities of documents. So for example, with a fax machine, I'm sure people are familiar going to the fax machine, putting in typing something out, printing it out, putting it in the fax machine, it gets turned into electronic information, gets printed out the other end. Very time-consuming activity.
Then somebody retypes it.
Then someone retypes it.
Yes.
So, in fact, we send 4 billion faxes a year, which if you multiply that by 5 minutes, that's quite a lot of wasted time.
That's a lot of time.
So one of the important things in Windows for Workgroups and Microsoft at Work fax is that we can retain the electronic qualities. So not only can I send a fax from my PC, I can also send something which retains its original electronic capabilities. So let's just take a look at a message that I've received.
Yeah, I just read the message. It says, "Congratulations on the successful management buyout and the name change to LANTech." Thank you for that. That was thoughtful.
So, you know, I could be a mobile user and I could have received this, you know, or in a small office, and I could have received this, and you could have sent it from another small office in a very easy way. And we've got a modem, yes. a US robotics modem, and it's just connected to this PC. And you can see here that we've retained the original Excel spreadsheet. And if I double click on that, we already have that on our system. But you can see here that here is an Excel spreadsheet, and now I can now go in and literally edit any of the information on that.
Yes.
So really, it's like a global fax network, you know, the largest network in the world.
Which anybody with a telephone can take advantage of.
A telephone and a modem, yeah.
Okay, David, it's an interesting product that is going to affect everybody, isn't it? From the desktop standalone user to the corporate with a wide area network and so on.
That's right. There are many things. We've obviously covered some of those capabilities, but the list is getting quite long now compared to Windows 3.1. And bearing in mind the fact that people want to be more communicative with their operating system, we think that a lot of people will be moving to Windows for Workgroups shortly.
Okay, David, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
My pleasure.
And that's it for this edition. However, as we're a little shorter on time this month, due mainly to the fact that we've all been somewhat busy with the MBO and the launch of LANTech, we do have a minute to spare. So, just for Bobby Pickering, here's a couple of the outtakes we've been saving for Christmas.
Oh, wonderful. Right. Here we go then.
Both the LaserJet 4 and the DeskJet Portable will be available from business land. Shit. Oh dear.
Is Landtech going to offer more than JWP then, or is this simply a case of business as unusual?
We'll be back on the 3rd of December. Bye for now.
Peter Joseph of WordPerfect was really frustrated that he couldn't show you all the features of 6.0 for Windows, so he's off to send a free demo disc to anyone who'd like to see more. Just write 6.0 on the reply paid card with your name and address and we'll see that you receive one.